Hello, welcome back. This is JongSoo Lee. Today, we are going to talk about chapter 2, thinking like a buyer. Okay, so in this chapter, we will focus on the demand curve, which is the consumer side. Okay, the buyers is consumer side. Okay, so at first, let's remind things we run the rest time. In the society, there are three groups we need to focus on. Who are they? First one is buyers. Okay. Second one is sellers. Okay. The final one is government. Correct? Right? So we will focus on the consumer's behavior in the market in this chapter. So especially it is a goods and services market. Okay. So this market is goods and services. Right? Okay. So what is a market? The market is a place where goods and services are exchanged. Okay, places where goods and services are exchanged. Okay, so goods and services means products here. And exchanging is talking about buying and selling behavior. Okay? Buy or sell. Okay? So consumers will buy a product, right? And firms will sell the products, correct? Okay. So to make it easier to analyze here, we are going to make assumptions about markets. So that's perfectly competitive market here. Okay. The perfectly competitive market is a market where so many consumers and producers. Okay. So many consumers, many producers. Okay, so in this market, um, there is so much competitions. Okay, this is a perfectly competitive market. So they cannot decide on the market price, and they should accept the market price as it is. So for example, if the companies raise its price, then no one in this market is going to buy that company's stuff. So because you can buy another things in the market. So in order for these companies to survive, it has to follow the market price. Okay, we have two conditions for perfectly competitive market, and remind this. Okay, so one is that there's a lot of the consumers and producers who are participants in the market. Okay, so first one is a lot of participants. Okay, so it means that they cannot affect the market price. So we can call it as price takers. Okay, so in other words, they have no market power. Okay, so that's one condition. So another one is to buy and sell identical goods. Okay, so that is a second condition for perfectly comparative market. Okay, so this is simply to facilitate analyze. Okay, so the reality is a little more complicated, right? So another thing, a monopoly market means that there's only one company in the market. So in this case, they have a lot of the market power. They can adjust the price in the market. Okay, so that's the differences between perfectly competitive market and the monopoly market. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the individual demand curve. Okay, so when individual demand curves are gathered, it is the entire market demand curve. Okay, so let's start with a graph here. So on the y-axis of the graph is the price. Okay, x-axis would be quantity demanded. Okay. So this is the form of the graph that economist named Marshall the first started using and has been using until now. This is to show how much quantity changes as the price changes. Okay, so let's say that you go to market, you are going to buy a drink. So when the price is $5, you are going to buy just one drink. It is just assumption. So this is consumers' willingness to pay. Okay. So if the price goes down, you may want to buy more, right? So let's say the $5, you will purchase one. $4, you will purchase two. $3, three. $2, four. $1, five. Okay. So let's find the demand curve. The $5, you will purchase one. Okay. Right? $4, you will purchase two. $3, you will purchase three. $2, you will purchase four. $1, you will purchase five. Okay, so you can connect the dots. Okay, so we have demand curve. Okay, so as you know that demand curve has a downward sloping, which is the negative slope. Okay, which is the negative slope. Right? It makes sense because if the price goes up, you will purchase less of the quantity demanded, right? On the other hand, if the price goes down, you will purchase more in the market, right? So, if we have the higher quantity demanded, so we can call it as low over demand, which is very important concept of economics. Okay, so there's one important assumption here: the low of demand can hold when the other variables beside the price do not change. So it is holding other things constant. Other things constant. Okay, in Latin, it's called ceteris paribus. Okay, so it is holding other things constant, and so the low of demand holds when all the other variables don't change it, because we are focusing on the just price and quantity demanded. Okay, so We can define the demand curve. So demand curve is willingness of consumers to buy products at each price. Okay, so this is the demand curve. Is it clear? Right? Okay, so in the previous chapter, we learned about the rational rule in order to maximize individual economics surplus, right? So what was it? It was when the marginal benefits are greater than or equal to marginal cost, right? The marginal benefits greater than equal to marginal cost, okay? Okay, so willingness to pay is the marginal benefits. This is because you get units of the benefits by demanding a unit of the goods according to your willingness to pay, right? So what is the marginal cost? We have run about this. So when we said in previous chapters that the cup of the coffee was $3, so we had to pay $3 for each cup, right? So this is going to be marginal cost. So we can realize that the marginal cost is what? Same as the price, okay? We can spend our money and demand until the marginal benefit is equal to marginal cost. Okay? Here. So which is equal to price. Okay, so we can derive an expression like this. Marginal benefits equal marginal cost equal price. Okay? This is the rational rule, right? Does it make sense? So because we can get additional benefits from the units when you demand stuff according to the price. Okay? So demand curve equal to marginal benefits, right? Okay, so let's look at the other reasons why the demand curve is going down right. Okay, it's because of the decreasing marginal benefits. The first one is lower demand. Second one is diminishing marginal benefits. Okay, so I will give you an example. So if you eat some ice cream in the market, so I like the Ben and Jerry ice cream individually. So the quantity 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now so let's assume that you assumed ice cream. Now, how would you feel if you add 1? Okay, it's going to be delicious, right? Anyway, delicious. How about 2? Also delicious. Okay, but how about 3? Maybe good. How about 4? You may feel tired all the sugar, okay? How about 5? You may be sick. Okay? Right? So this is a diminishing marginal benefit, right? So each additional consumption makes your benefit goes down. Okay? So this is the diminishing marginal benefits. Okay? So everyone who's in class right now, okay? So at first, you would have to focus on this class, right? But are you getting bored now? Then your concentrations will gradually decrease over time. And the knowledge you acquire will gradually decrease. So this is also a typical example of diminishing marginal benefits. Okay, so why does demand curve has a downward slope? There are two reasons. The first thing is the low of demand, right? And second one is because of diminishing marginal benefits. Got it? Now, everyone, let's press the stop button and stretching, and let's take a break for a while and continue on. Okay, I will stop for a second. Okay, are you back? As I said at the beginning, the individual demand curves are aggregated, and we can get a total market demand curve. Okay, so the market demand curve is a sum of the quantity demanded by each person. Okay, so market demand curve is sum of quantity demanded by each person. Okay, so let me give you an example of what this means. So let's say there are two demand curves for Sam and Kelly. Okay. This one is Sam, this one is Kelly. Okay, so y-axis should be price, x-axis would be quantity demanded. Okay, quantity demanded. Okay, so $5. Then we purchased just one. $4, two, $3, three, $4, sorry, $2, four, $1, five. Okay, so we can connect the dots. We can get the Sam's demand curve. Okay, the Kelly has the same demand curve. Anyway, $5, one, $4, two, $3, three, $2, four, $1, sorry, $1, five. We can connect the dots. We can get the Kelly's demand curve. Okay, so how can you find the total demand curve? As you know that market demand curve is sum of the quantity demanded by each person, right? So how can you find y-axis price here is quantity demanded anyway. So $5, 1 plus 1, right? So we can sum up the quantity demanded of Sam and the quantity demanded of the Kelly. Okay? 1 plus 1, we have 2. How about $4? 2 plus 2, we have 4. At $3, 3 plus 3, we have 6. At $2, 4 plus 4, we have 8. $1, 5 plus 5, we have 10. Okay? So we can get a market demand curve like this. Okay? So this one is market demand curve. Okay? So you can use the individual demand curve to derive market demand curve. Okay? Okay, so now we are going to look at the what shift this demand curve or move along the demand curve. Okay, as we know that if the price changes, we have the change in the quantity demanded, right? So it is a little messy, right? So let's take a look at the differences between demand and the quantity demanded. Okay, what's the demand? Demand is refers to entire curve that illustrates the relationship between price and quantities. Okay? Entire curve between price and quantity. Okay? So, what is the quantity demanded? Okay? So, quantity demanded, on the other hand, means a specific points on that curve where a certain price is associated with a certain quantity. Okay, so this is just the kind of snapshot of demand. Okay, so that's a specific point. Okay, on the curve. Okay, there's the differences between demand and quantity demanded. Okay, so how does it work on the graph as the price changes? The answer is it moves along the demand. So I will give you an example here. At $4, you consume that, we can purchase the 2 products, right? And $2, we can purchase $4. Oh, sorry, 4. Okay, so I just let the A at this point at $4. I just let the B at the $2. Okay, so if we have change in price, the point will move along the demand curve in here, right? So if we have change in price, we can get a change in quantity demanded. Okay, so there's effect of change in price. Okay, so the change in price, we have movement along the demand curve. On the other hand, if we have a change in other factors, okay, the demand curve will shift to the right and left. Okay, so shift in demand curve. Okay, very important concept. Okay, remind that. Okay, so as we know that if the other factors changes beside the price, the demand curve will shift. Okay, so in the graph, if we have increased demand, we have increased the demand curve. So the demand curve will shift to the right. Okay, so in this case, we have increase in demand curve. Okay. On the other hand, if we have decreased demand, the demand curve will shift to the left. Okay. So in this case, we have decrease in demand. Okay. This happened when you have change in other factors besides of price changes. Okay. So let's look at the what shift demand. Okay. At first, I will let you know the first factors, which is the wages. Right? So wages are money that you get in return for supplying your labor force to the labor market. Okay? And with these wages, you are going to buy the things you need, right? So if the demand increases, when your wages increases, it's called normal goods. Okay? Normal goods means that if your wages increases, okay, your demand also increase. Okay, so for examples, there is a Netflix. Okay, so you know Netflix, right? So Netflix subscriptions are not cheap, okay, these days. But if you can earn the much higher wages, you will be willing to subscribe to Netflix. Okay, so this is an example of normal goods. Okay. On the other hand, an inferior good is kinds of a good that your wages are increasing, but demand is decreasing. Okay, so there is an inferior goods. It means that even though your wages increase, your demand decrease. Okay, so for example, there's ramen. Okay, so students will often demand ramen when they go to school. This is because students are short of money, right? So, but if they get a job after graduation and make money, right? The demand for ramens will decrease. Okay. Instead, they will go to the expensive restaurant and buy good food. So even as the wage increase, the demand for ramen decrease. Okay. So this is the inferior goods. Ramen. I'm a little hungry. Okay, so second factor is your preferences. Okay, the demand depends on your preference. It, it does make sense, right? So for example, students who like the coffee choose whether to drink McDonald's or the Starbucks coffee. So therefore, students who prefer the Starbucks coffees more will increase the demand for Starbucks coffee. Okay, so that is an example of your preference. Okay, any questions about this? Okay, so third factors is the relative price of a goods. Okay, so if the price of a good you want to buy increase, you can reduce the demand for the goods by a low demand, and you can demand a replacement instead. Okay, this is a substitution goods. Okay, so substitution good is price goes up, The demand for other goods, so it goes down. Okay, other goods. Okay, so what is the example of this substitution good? For example, let's think about pen and pencil. Okay, example is pen and pencil. Okay, so they are substitution good each other, right? So if the price of pens increase, you will increase the demand for pencil. Okay, so if the bus fare goes up, you can take the train instead. Okay, so bus and trains are same kinds of transportations. Okay, so they can be substitutions. So substitution increases the demand for the substitute if the price of the good you want to demand increases. The complementary goods, on the other hand, is opposite. So if the price of the good you want to demand increases, um, when the demand for other goods decreases. So we can call it as complementary goods. Okay, price goes up, your demand for other goods decrease. Other goods. Okay, so anyway, complementary good is a good that goes together. So for examples, there are cars and gases. Example is car and gases. Okay. The price of gas has risen a lot due to the war in Ukraine these days. So cars are powered by gas. Okay, so if the gas price goes up, the use of the cars will decrease. Okay, so the same goes for the electronic price and electronic vehicles. Here, definition of substitution good. Substitution good is goods that replace each other. Complementary good is goods that go together. Okay, is it clear? Okay, now the first factor is your expectations or future expectations you have. Okay, so if you expect it to rain in 2 days, okay, you will buy an umbrella in advance. Okay, but what are you going to do today when the price of the umbrella is going to up tomorrow? Okay, since today the price of the umbrella is cheaper than tomorrow, so you will buy the umbrella today, right? So today's umbrella demand will increase. Okay, so expectations affect your umbrella demand, right? Okay, so fifth thing is the congestion effect and network effect. Congestion effect and network effect. Okay, so the congestion effect means that the good is not worth using by others. The good is not worth using by others. Okay. So for example, there's a traffic jams. Okay. If other drivers use the load that you want to use a lot, you will reduce the use of that load. Okay. You will find another way. Okay. So there's also a network effect. The network effect can also affect your demand for goods. For example, you are using SNS these days, right? So Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat and so on. Okay, so you can communicate with your friends, people from all over the world. So people who advertise use this SNS a lot these days. So when you see other people using some good on SNS, you may want to buy it too. Okay, so SNS can affect your demand. Okay, it is a network effect. Okay? SNS. Okay, so the final one is the types of number of buyers. And number of buyers. Okay, for example, let's think about selling the goods inside a university. So if I open the expensive restaurant in the school, so it will be difficult for students who have relatively little money to use it. So restaurant will be ruined soon, right? So as the competition of the market changes, so does the market demand. So when you are doing businesses, it's important to figure out the type and number of the buyers. Now, to sum, the price changes, the quantity demanded changes, and then the points move along on the demand curve. If there's changes in factors other than price, the demand changes, the demand curve will shift to left or right. Okay, so now we have studied demand curve that are consumer side. Next time we will study chapter 3. Thank you.